Hey friends, happy Friday. I hope that you're doing really well today. So I'm not sitting in my car. Well, that's different for an early morning Facebook Live. I am. I'm off today. I have a workshop that I get to attend online later this morning and recording a special episode of CXMH, that podcast later this morning. We're doing a special episode about mental health and violence and the myths that exist around that. But this morning, hello Jane, this morning I was, hey Tiffany, meditating. I was just having some time to myself, letting go of some anxiety. I love my early morning meditation. Thank you, Ed Bacon, for changing my life. But I love my early morning meditation, even if I get 5 minutes. 5 minutes, 5 minutes of meditation at the beginning of my day. Y'all, it can change my whole day. And so this morning I had about 10 minutes. That's it. I'm not some, man, there are people that can meditate for an hour. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. Maybe one day, maybe I'll be able to add, and be a 15-minute meditator. But right now I'm 5 to 10 minutes, and it is so good. So this morning I was thinking about our strive to be perfect, our the lie that we believe, I think it's a lie, that we believe in typical traditional American evangelical church today, that be ye holy as I am holy. And we take this, hello Emmeline, we take this idea, right, of holiness, of really wholeness, but we take this idea of holiness and we think God desires for me to strive to be perfect. Now we know we are wretched, rotten, no good sinners, right? Because that's been ingrained in us since childhood, but somehow we're supposed to strive to be perfect. Even if we're failures, God is still going to have grace on us nasty, rotten failures. What a terrible, terrible kind of theology. What a terrible way to believe. But that's the way that I believe. That's the way I was raised. And that's what I believed for the first 30 years of my life. And so nowadays, and I'm all emotional because I've been meditating, I've been letting go of anxiety. Nowadays, I want to tell you what perfection looks like for me. Perfection, what feels perfect for me, is a combination of presence and compassion. So if I show up just as I am, right? If I show up without one plea, if I just show up and I am compassionate toward myself, even when I view myself as less than perfect, as broken, which it's not true, you're not broken. But when I view myself that way, if I'm not there yet, and I view myself as broken, if I can then also receive the compassion of Jesus, the compassion of God, the compassion of the universe, however big and wide you need to call it. For me, it's Jesus. For me, it's God. For you, it might just be the source of love. But if I can show up and be present and also receive compassion from above and find self-compassion within, oh man, that's perfect. That's perfect. And so, hello, Sandy. Presence and compassion, love it, love you. Yeah, it has changed things for me, and I love you too, my friend, so much. I'm so thankful for you, Jane. But if I show up and I receive that compassion, it changes everything for me. So one of my favorite worship leaders, especially when I was really still ingrained in the evangelical church, one of my favorite worship leaders is Clint Brown, who is in Tampa or Orlando, and he writes these little choruses. They're not even full songs, a lot of them, just these simple choruses. And he came out with this album called Alone, which is one of my favorite albums of all albums ever. And it was just him and a piano. And he wrote this little song called Remember Me. And I think I've talked about it on here before a long time ago. So if I have, forgive me. Don't forgive me. Maybe you just need this reminder today. But he wrote this little ditty called Remember Me. And he talks about Jesus on the cross and the two thieves on either side of Jesus. And you got the one thief that says, if you're the Son of God, save us and save yourself. Get yourself down off of this cross, and he's just shaming Jesus there at the final hour, right? Like, what a great guy. I am sure he was a lot of fun at a Christmas party. But then you have the other thief on the other side of Jesus who says, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Will you remember me? And I love the spin that Clint Brown puts on this story. He says, I don't think that thief was saying, would you make a mental note of me when you come into your kingdom, right? Would you make a heavenly post-it note and put my name on it, Master, right? I think he was tapping into the creative side of God, right? This carpenter's son who had grown up all his life watching his father fix and repair and rebuild and put together again things that had become broken, okay? And so Clint Brown's perspective is, I think he was saying, can you take the shattered pieces of a life, the mistakes that I have made, the choices that I have made that are less than beneficial to myself and everyone around me, can you take these broken pieces of my life and put me back together again? Can you remember me, right? And so perfection for me is that. It is ultimately, I think perfection is choosing to see that we're not broken. When we finally recognize that we are not broken, and in fact, we are divine because God lives and dwells inside of us. In Him we live and move and have our being. God lives inside of us. And so I think when we finally get there, that's a glimpse of perfection. But on this side of eternity, it is showing up. I am broken. I am heartbroken. I am hurting. I am scared. I am alone. I am divorced. I am addicted. I am depressed. Whatever your I am statement is that is not so good. I am, whatever that is, that's how I view myself right now. But God, I ask for your compassion. But God, help me be compassionate to myself. Help me show myself some messy grace. The combination of presence and compassion changes everything. It changes everything. So, the little song goes, remember me. Put me back together. Hold me close forever. Remember me. Tell me that you love me. And I'll always be where you'll be. Can you remember me? Right? That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying on the other side of Jesus. When he sees that his life is broken, he's hanging there on the cross, man. This is the worst. This is it. This is the end. It can get no worse. He says, hey, Jesus, you were the carpenter's son. You grew up knowing how to fix things. Can you put my life back together at my final hour, at my very worst, at my lowest? Can you take this broken life and put me back together again? That guy showed up. Even if it was his final moments, he showed up and said, I'm going to be present. I'm going to show up and acknowledge where I am. And I'm also going to acknowledge who you are, God, who you are, Jesus, that you can show. If there's ever been compassion shown to me, it comes from Jesus. So I go back to the story I tell all the time. Y'all done got me fired up on a Friday morning. But I go back to the story that I always tell when I talk about the compassion of Jesus. It is Jesus showing up in an ICU room where I had tried to kill myself. I had tried to end it all. And it is the hand, that warm hand of God that I felt on my chest. And that whisper that I heard in my ear, I'm not finished with you yet. I'm not finished with you yet. I'm not finished with you yet. So when you feel at the end of your rope like there is nothing else left, there's no purpose left for you, there's no hope left for you, can you hear the voice of Jesus? Can you feel the compassionate tenderness, the relentless tenderness of Jesus that Brennan Manning talks about, saying, come on, I'm not finished with you yet. I'm not finished with you yet. We show up, we receive compassion, and we give that compassion to ourselves. And then one day, when we begin to heal, when we begin to see that we are not nearly as broken as we thought, we start giving that compassion out to other people. We start doling out messy grace to other people. Jane, we say to them, just as I am, without one plea, right? But that thy blood was shed for me. That's what we do. That's what we do. We say, I'm going to show up because God loves me as I am and not as I should be, right? Because on this side of eternity, it's a journey. I'm constantly working, trying to get closer to God. I'm constantly trying to live a better life today than I lived yesterday. But I'm never going to get it all right. I'm never going to get it just exactly right. And that is okay, because that's not even the goal. The goal is to show up and to be compassionate to myself, to receive God's compassion, to love my neighbor, love myself, and love my God with all my heart the best way I can. I'm done. I love y'all so much. I hope you have a great Friday. See ya.